So LaMelo has not been getting very many minutes so far. The first two games of the season, he's only been averaging 15 minutes per game, which is pretty low for a top 3 draft pick in all honesty. And there are a lot of people that are upset with this. I've seen plenty of comments on LaMelo related YouTube videos, and the consensus has kind of been that, yeah, he should be getting more minutes. There are a lot of people who are saying that he should actually be starting. There have also been a few people, and I find this interesting, who have been saying that the Hornets should handle this LaMelo situation like the Hawks handled Trae Young, right? The way the Hawks handled Trae Young's role on the team. Basically, when the Hawks drafted Trae, they immediately gave him the keys to the franchise, right? They let him start. He was the starter right away. He's been the starter the last 2 years that he's been there, and he was able to take whatever shots he wanted. He was able to make whatever passes he wanted. And there are tons of people who would say that that played a big role in why Trae Young has become the player that he has so early on, because he was able to make mistakes and learn from them and gain confidence, right? He was able to learn early on what he was good at, what he needed to work on, because he got that experience, because he got so many minutes. So those people are saying that LaMelo is basically being limited. If you're only getting 15 minutes a game, how much can you really learn in that span? And on top of that, something I kind of think of, if you're a top 3 pick, and especially LaMelo, he's such a polarizing figure. He's got tons of fans, but he's also got tons of haters. At the end of the day, people are expecting a lot from LaMelo when he steps onto the court. They've been expecting a lot from him throughout his whole basketball career, right? When he was in high school, when he was overseas, wherever. The expectations have always followed him. So if you're only getting 15 minutes a game, I mean, if you're a young guy, I can understand, and I could imagine him maybe thinking, okay, I've got to do something in these 15 minutes. Whereas if you have 30 to 35, it's kind of easier to let the game come to you, right? Because then you don't have to worry about, oh, I got to, make some highlight play in these 15 minutes that I have. I got to put up some amount of some nice stats, right? So I look nice in the box score. So I could understand if LaMelo was having those types of thoughts, because he's a young player. And even if young rookies don't admit it, these guys care about these things, right? So I could see why, from that perspective, that it's not good for LaMelo to be getting limited minutes, right? Because it could be hurting his confidence and hindering his development to a certain degree, right? But on the other hand, this is a very unique situation that these guys are going through. There's very different circumstances just because of the pandemic and all that, right? A few weeks ago, Derrick Rose even said that this situation was going to be very difficult for the rookies to develop in, right? Because they're not getting that summer league. They're not getting as much time to really gel with the guys in training camp. It was basically like, oh, they got drafted, and then now they're in training camp and they're playing with these NBA ready players. They haven't got the chance to really prepare for that by playing in summer league. And it's just tough. They also didn't get too many preseason games. I think the Hornets only played about 4 preseason games this year. I mean, some other teams played less than that, right? So I think normally they play about 5, 6, 7 preseason games. So there's just less time for these guys to prepare. On top of that, this LaMelo situation is different than the Trae Young situation, because when Trae Young went to Atlanta, when he was originally drafted, I think Dennis Schroeder was still on the team. But before Trae Young had actually played his first game, the Hawks had traded Dennis Schroeder to, I believe it was the Thunder at the time, right? I don't think he played on anyone before going to the Thunder, in between the Hawks and the Thunder. Yeah, he went to the Thunder. So there was no one in front of Trae Young, right? So it makes sense that he was starting right away. In the case of the Hornets, Devontae Graham is there and Terry Rozier is there. And regardless of what you think of those guys, regardless of whether you think that LaMelo has a higher ceiling, because I know I do. I know that LaMelo has a higher ceiling than those guys. He has more upside, more potential. But at the same time, those guys have proven themselves in the league. LaMelo may have proven himself before the NBA, in high school and overseas, wherever he's been, but he hasn't proven himself in the NBA yet. Devontae Graham just had a breakout season where he almost won the Most Improved Player award. Terry Rozier is coming off a breakout year as well, where he averaged 18 a game, shot 40% from three. So these guys are pretty good NBA players. They're good NBA players. So it's almost kind of disrespectful to just say, oh, we're going to give the keys to this rookie point guard who's still pretty raw, hasn't had any preparation coming into the league because of this unique situation and these different circumstances. And although you've proven yourself to be a good player in the league, we're just gonna give this new guy your spot, right? You're not really giving those veterans a chance to at least fight for their spot and keep their spot, right? So I can understand why Rozier and Graham are starting over LaMelo. But at the same time, I think he should at least be getting more than 15 minutes a game, right? I think you can find a way to get him in between 20 to 24 minutes a game, I would say. I think that's more reasonable. I was looking at the box scores for their first two games, and I was looking at the minutes, and you can't tell me that LaMelo shouldn't be getting more minutes than Cody or Caleb Martin. You could take a few minutes away from those guys, give those to LaMelo, because they're probably playing at the two guard spot. LaMelo can play both guard positions, right? You can find a way to play him some with Devontae or Rozier. There's just ways that you can get him 20 to 25 minutes. I don't think that that's too much to ask, right? He should at least be playing about half the game, I would say, right? So you want to be playing him closer to 24 minutes, I would say. And even if you give him that many minutes, you could still be getting Rozier and Graham about 30 minutes a game. You could still be giving them starter level minutes. It's not like, oh, because LaMelo is going to be playing 22, 23 minutes a game, all of a sudden Rozier is only going to be playing like 26 or something, or Devontae Graham is going to be playing 25. That's not how it works, because you can play guys, you can mix up rotations and stuff. There's no reason that your number 3 pick, who has a ton of potential, should be playing 15 minutes a game. On top of that, this Hornets team doesn't even look very good. Their first 2 games of the season, they've lost to the Cavs and they've lost to the Thunder. And those are going to be 2 of the worst teams in the league. Although, actually, the Cavs have looked pretty decent. I think they can be maybe they can be a decent team, but they'll probably still be a lottery team at the end of the year, if I'm being honest. The point is that the Hornets haven't looked good, and you're not even playing this guy more than 15 minutes a game. I think that's a bit low, and it could hurt his confidence long term. Hopefully, though, if the Hornets keep losing, then they'll just trade away a guy like Rozier, free up more minutes for LaMelo, and he'll be able to get more minutes that way. So, you have to look at it from both perspectives. I can understand why they're only playing him this many minutes, but at the same time, you got to be playing him more. It's okay not to start him, but to play him 15 minutes a game is a bit ridiculous. We'll see, though. I think that as the season progresses, he'll start to play more. Hopefully he does, and we'll have to see. We'll just have to wait and see. He looked really bad against the Cavs, but he looked better against the Thunder, and rookies are going to be inconsistent. But hopefully he just gets more of an opportunity to get more experience and get more minutes. I think he'll be fine, though. Yeah, there's reason to believe that he should be getting more minutes. Not necessarily starting, but getting more minutes. I think people are just overreacting a little bit to it, though. He's going to be fine. He's going to be a great player.